against the Packers Saturday night.
And let's take you outside here just ahead of sunrise. Beautiful shot. Mike says we do have some rain on the way to be aware of.
Yeah, we thank you for joining us. 7 o'clock right on the button. Mike Kaplan?
Yes, sir. And yes, ma'am. Rain and even thunderstorms coming through tonight. It's very unusual January weather here, but the past several days have been kind of strange. Mid-40s last 3 days, and today going to be even warmer than that. Right now, cloud cover's in the process of increasing. It was clear overnight. Had a beautiful view of the moon as I was driving in. Temperature at O'Hare now under cloudy skies already 45. 32 is the normal high this time of year. We have a south wind at 10 driving in this milder air that will send us all way into the 50s. Still a couple of spots in the 30s. Kankakee among them. 38 degrees there, 39 at Aurora, 45 at Midway, 43 at Michigan City, even Benton Harbor, Michigan. You're sitting pretty there with 40 degrees. Clouds are thickening and there's some rain on the way. Take a look at when the warmest part of the day is going to happen. This will be right around midnight when we'll be flirting with 60 degrees. Tomorrow, temperatures will be tailing off as we dry out, with temperatures staying in the mid-40s during the afternoon. But Saturday, likely to see a little bit of snow. More on that second storm system in a little bit, but been kind of a busy and sad morning, Gabriella.
What a whirlwind here, Mike. Yeah, we're back on the northbound side of I-55. This is in the Romeoville, Plainfield area. Just know that this is going to be a big traffic mess if you are going northbound to the city because of this fatal crash investigation. So remember the last time I visited with you, my last report, we saw this big hole in this barrier wall just on the side of I-55. This is now near Route 126. Well, I reached out to Romeoville PD, and here's the information that they gave me. So the vehicle traveling westbound on the frontage road was traveling at a high rate of speed, hit the curve, and went airborne through the barrier wall onto northbound I-55, where it was struck by another vehicle. Now, the driver of the speeding vehicle unfortunately died. The driver of the vehicle on I-55 sustained non-life-threatening injuries. Now, I-55 and that frontage road are both shut down for the investigation and cleanup, and they're anticipated to remain closed for the next several hours. As I've been saying, the closure on I-55 is northbound between US 30 and Route 126. I suggest, again, getting off, well, you have to at US 30 and going eastbound using Weber Road to go northbound, because that's going to be your best bet. It is very crowded over in the Plainfield area if you want to travel west and go northbound that way. Again, shocking scene here. We'll keep you updated on all that's going on. I'll give you your drive times too, I promise, here coming up.
Thank you, Gabby. Tensions are growing in Minneapolis after an ICE agent shot and killed a woman.
Hundreds of ICE agents have been deployed to Minneapolis as part of the White House's crackdown on illegal immigration. Federal officials say 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good, they say that she tried to run over the agents with her SUV yesterday, and say that the agent who shot her acted in self-defense. However, the city's mayor said it was the agent who had acted recklessly.
Our officer followed his training, did exactly what he's been taught to do in that situation, and took actions to defend himself.
Shots being fired as the car was driving away. The narrative that this was just done in self-defense is a garbage narrative. To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, meantime, has put the state's National Guard on standby in the event of any unrest. Meantime, Illinois Representative Robin Kelly says she's going to be filing articles of impeachment. She wrote this on X in a post saying that she is going to be working to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Congresswoman Kelly claims that Noem is violating the Constitution, and in the post she wrote that Noem wreaked havoc in the Chicago area and has brought terror to Minneapolis.
Hundreds gathered in Little Village to honor that woman who was killed by ICE agents and call for accountability. The community is calling for a full independent investigation into the killing, immediate accountability for all officials responsible, and transparency from the Department of Homeland Security and ICE regarding the use of force and operational conduct.
Amid the unrest in Minneapolis, federal immigration tactics are under scrutiny in Chicago today.
And Roseanne has more on a new initiative by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
Well, Natalie, Anthony, with that shooting in Minneapolis top of mind, the former mayor is launching her ICE accountability project today. You know, Chicago has had its own ICE-involved shootings, and some would say they highlight the need for the kind of thorough documentation Lightfoot's calling for. 31-year-old Marmar Martinez, senior going to court, was shot by a federal agent in Brighton Park in early October. Now, she was accused of trying to ram her car into an agent's vehicle. She and her passenger were indicted for assault and attempted murder, but those charges were later dropped. A federal agent also shot and killed an undocumented immigrant in Franklin Park in September, 38-year-old Salvario Villegas Gonzalez. The agent claimed that he was being dragged by Gonzalez's car as Gonzalez tried to flee. They said that he had been targeted for a record of reckless driving. Former Mayor Lori Lightfoot wants to make sure each and every incident is well documented. She told Paris Schutz about her plans in October.
We want to create a centralized archive of all the purported evidence of criminal actions on the part of ICE and CBP agents across the region. It's out there, but it's in different places, and it makes it difficult to aggregate the information. We want to create a portal where what's happening real time can be centralized and then put out for the public to view.
The mayor went on to say she also wants to unmask these agents. We're going to hear more details about exactly what she means when she has her news conference at 10 a.m. today. Again, former Mayor Lori Lightfoot launching the ICE Accountability Project. Roseanne Tejas, Fox Chicago.
Thank you, Roseanne. And we're learning new details in the search for missing Chicago Public Schools teacher Linda Brown.
Brian Jackson is in studio with the very latest. Brian?
Well, her husband says that Linda's vehicle has been found. We are still waiting for Chicago police to confirm that update. The family says that the location where her vehicle was found is not being disclosed because police are actively searching the area. The 53-year-old CPS special education teacher was reported missing this past weekend. Her husband says that they watched a movie on Friday night. She went to bed early, and when he woke up the next morning, she was gone. He says that she did have an acupuncture appointment that she did miss that following morning. The family says that she has a history of mental illness, but has never gone missing before. Anthony?
Okay, thank you, Brian. A Lake County, Indiana Sheriff's police officer is hospitalized this morning after a head-on collision during a police pursuit. This happened in Gary around 6 last night near the corner of 9th and Ralston Street. 2 people in the suspect vehicle were also hospitalized.
Chicago's so-called SNAP curfew ordinance is getting new life. City council members took action on the plan, even as the mayor continues to oppose it. The City Council Public Safety Committee voted in favor of a revised curfew ordinance sponsored by 2nd Ward Alderman Brian Hopkins. This ordinance would give the police superintendent the power, with consultation from the mayor's office, to declare a curfew at any time in any place to stop a violent teen gathering. But Mayor Johnson says he doesn't quite understand why the ordinance is needed.
There's a 10 p.m. curfew that has been on the books for some time. I've never been opposed to that. Now, let me be absolutely clear. What I'm opposed to is giving unilateral control to one entity of government to make a determination in a snap notice that could be a violation to people's civil rights.
It should not be vetoed. This is a curfew, a teen curfew that we need for the longest time. We've seen a lot of teen takeovers happen in downtown and in other parts of the city. I think it's needed because it gives accountability to our young people that there's consequences.
The curfew ordinance now moves to the full city council.
A Chicago area father is filing a lawsuit against the popular online game Roblox. He says his 9-year-old son was groomed and sexually exploited through the game. He let his kid play because Roblox promised strong safety protections. The lawsuit says those protections failed. He says a predator contacted the boy pretending to be another kid, building trust over time, and then convinced the boy to send explicit photos. Roblox sent us this statement saying that it is, quote, deeply troubled by any incident that endangers any user. The company says it wants to set the bar for online safety, which is why it claims its policies are purposely stricter than those found on many other platforms.
The Bears could be getting some key players back from injury for Saturday's wild card game against the Packers. Both Rome Odunze and Kyler Gordon will likely return after missing multiple games because they were hurt. Now, for the players on the Bears who have not been to the playoffs, the feeling of this week is entirely new. They talked about the mindset getting ready for Saturday's big game.
You could tell guys are laser focused, talking, communicating, being detailed, and in practice, the energy's going up.
Mentally, I know we're ready. I know physically it's something that we're going to have to see on Sunday. It's one thing to talk about it, but we got to go out there and execute and be about it. So that's all we're focused on right now.
You can watch the Packers and Bears game on Saturday at 7 p.m. right here on Fox Chicago. Our coverage begins with Bears Game Day Live at 12:30, and then stay with us on Fox Chicago because after the game, we've got full post-game coverage on your home of the Bears.
All right, taking a live look outside this Thursday morning. Ooh, there's a beautiful view from the north side. Looks like it's probably windy up there, Mike Kaplan. I see the camera shaking up there.
A little breezy.
2800.
I'm actually a little surprised to see that much camera movement. The winds aren't, 30 miles an hour or anything. Winds will pick up later today, and in fact, there's a chance we could have some really strong winds in thunderstorms. What month is this again? Take a look at this map. This shows an update. This is from the Storm Prediction Center. These are the meteorologists in Oklahoma that are in charge of kind of gauging the risk of whether there are going to be any severe thunderstorms. And there's a notable change from the old outlook to the new outlook. One is the extension of what had been a level 1 to a level 2 risk for, say, Oklahoma City and Tulsa, Oklahoma. But in the local area, the only change is a slight northward shift of that severe weather threat area, which now encompasses parts of, say, southern Kendall County, a little bit north of Joliet, and then you kind of I-55 would be the northern terminus of where a risk of severe thunderstorms would be located. But you get the idea here. Southern portions of our viewing area, more at risk. It's only a level 1 out of 5. More at risk of some damaging straight line winds tonight, which is why I've got thunderstorms in the forecast for tonight. But you look at the 7-day forecast, we got everything from spring-like weather for about the next 36 hours, with temperatures getting way into the 50s here. Tomorrow's high is going to be whatever it is at midnight. I'm going to go 58. Tomorrow will be drying out. Saturday, kind of change over to a little bit of winter. We'll have some rain mixing with snow. Not expecting, certainly no big accumulation of snow, but there could be a coating during the evening hours, and that might impact the Bears-Packers game. Then we get a cold day Sunday before temperatures get a little bit milder Monday and Tuesday. Then there's another storm system coming in here with a rain-snow combo on Wednesday. But after today and tomorrow, definitely things starting to look a little bit more wintry around here, so don't give up on January. January can still do January things.
All right, thank you, Mike. The U.S. government is issuing new guidelines on how you should structure your diet. So we're going to speak with a research dietitian about the changes.
It's Ashley.
Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot will launch her ICE accountability project today.
Lightfoot originally talked about this plan back in October. She says the project's goal will be to track any illegal action taken by federal immigration agents during Operation Midway Blitz.
Tensions growing in Minneapolis after an ICE agent shot and killed a woman there. Federal officials say 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good tried to run the agents over with her SUV yesterday. They say the agent acted in self-defense. However, the city's mayor said the agent who shot her had acted recklessly.
The husband of missing Chicago public school teacher Linda Brown says her car has been found. Police haven't provided publicly, anyway, any other details than that. The 53-year-old special education teacher was reported missing over the weekend. The search for her now going on day 5. 7:15. Let's send it over to Mike Kaplan for an updated look at this forecast as we look at the beautiful sunrise.
Yeah, still, a little glimmer of light out there. We'll see some sunshine this morning, but cloud cover thickening up in advance of an approaching storm system, which has a lot of warmth with it and a lot of moisture to play with. Take a look at the satellite imagery here. And what we've got approaching from the southwest is a pretty impressive storm system. Low pressure is gearing up here, coming out of the Panhandle area. And what that is doing, it is grabbing a big slug of Gulf of Mexico moisture, and that's going to be fed right into Chicagoland here tonight, which is why some of the rainfall could come down at a pretty good clip, and there will likely be some embedded thunderstorms mixed in there. Today, most of the day is going to be dry until about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's when rain moves in. We'll get to 58 degrees, but that high is going to be happening at midnight. We'll get into the low 50s this afternoon ahead of that rain, but the warmest part of the day is tonight. So temperatures will actually kind of hold, falling to 45 by daybreak tomorrow. And yes, there'll be some scattered thunderstorms around here, and some of those could be on the Frisky side here with gusty straight line winds. We'll keep you posted on that in case anybody gets a warning. Let's look at the Bears game weather on Saturday night, which looks decidedly more wintry, although not that bad. We're not talking about wind chills that are going to be 10 below zero, but there will be some scattered snow showers around, 32 at kickoff time, a chance for some snow around halftime. Then I just think it's windy and cold by the time the Bears wrap up their victory and move on to the next round of the playoffs. Temperatures will be falling into the upper 20s. All right, let's check back in with Gabriella Primus to see how that morning commute shaping up Thursday.
Well, Mike, I wanted to make sure that we're able to give people their drive times because we haven't forgot about you. I know there's a lot of breaking traffic news that's going on around our city right now. So full 40 minutes on the Kennedy from O'Hare to downtown if you are traveling in. 45 minutes on the Eisenhower. We had that much earlier incident, manhunt over at Manheim on the inbound side of the Ike. 45 minutes on the Stevenson. There is a crash reported on the northbound side here at Pulaski. Remember, this number is not incorporating the closure that we have a little closer to Plainfield, Romeoville. So just from 355 to DuSable Lakeshore Drive. And then 30 minutes on the Dan Ryan from 95th to the Burn interchange. Let's go over to Skyfox that is above this scene. Like I said, around Plainfield, Romeoville area. It is still a full closure. We're seeing cars go by here, but that's because these cars were stuck between US 30 and Route 126. That's where this closure is. For a few hours, they're finally letting them slowly come through as they continue this fatal crash investigation that we've been talking about. So here's some more information that we got from Romeoville PD. A vehicle was traveling westbound on that frontage road that you see on the left side of your screen at a high rate of speed and hit that curve, went airborne through the barrier wall onto northbound I-55, where it was struck by another vehicle. The driver of the speeding vehicle died. The driver of the vehicle on the expressway has non-life-threatening injuries. Now, I-55 and that frontage road are both shut down for the investigation until further notice. They're forcing all northbound traffic off of US 30, travel eastbound, go on Weber Road to go northbound, and then continue on the northbound side of I-55. Obviously, a lot of traffic in this area, so maybe you could take an alternate route altogether. I suggest not going through Plainfield. It looks like quite a mess because that seems like kind of the natural way to maybe go. Again, this frontage road, also northbound I-55, closed between US 30 and Route 126. Natalie.
Thank you, Gabby. The food pyramid as we know it has been turned on its head. At the top, protein and healthy fats, and at the bottom, whole grains. Bethany Dorfler, Chief Clinical Research Dietitian with the Digestive Health Institute at Northwestern University, joins us now. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for joining us to break this down. Most surprising on the new photo of the food pyramid, whole milk, red meat, and butter, now at the top of the food pyramid. So explain how we should be eating now.
Yeah, I think the image can be a little confusing compared to what the written guidelines are suggesting. But here's what I want my patients to know. What hasn't changed is the emphasis on more real food, fresh fruits and vegetables, and healthy fats, specifically highlighting olive oil and plant-based fats. While there is a softer language suggested for things like red meat and animal fats and full fat dairy, there's still hard limits on the amount of saturated fat in the diet. That means that Americans should really be striving for no more than 20 grams of saturated fat a day. And that means we still have to keep the amount of red meat and saturated fat in check.
That is so hard to quantify because it's like, you know, unless you're looking directly at a label. So if we're looking at 20 grams of saturated fat, what would that be in comparison to for real food? Like how much red meat and how much butter and oil?
Great question. About a 6-ounce petite filet is approximately 10 grams of saturated fat. And when you're having a full fat yogurt, for example, there's about 4 to 5 grams of saturated fat. So what this really highlights is if you're going to eat real food that has some saturated fat, like red meat or full fat yogurt, it leaves very little room for some of these ultra processed snacks that also can be sources of saturated fat, like fried food, potato chips, etc.
So with fresh foods at the top here, the main roadblocks, I should say, still remain, and we know this is such a problem in Chicago. Accessibility to those foods and affordability. Yes. So do you think the administration will do enough to combat those two major roadblocks for people?
Access is a major determinant of health. And one of the things about the dietary guidelines is they really inform school meals, and they also inform subsidies that support our troops. So I'm hoping with these dietary guidelines that there is more resources allocated to not only being able to purchase these real foods that are emphasized by the dietary guidelines, but disseminating those, of course, to school kids and families here in Chicago. That's one piece of feedback we've heard from people in the public health sector is they need more resources to be able to rely less on packaged and processed foods.
I was listening to an interview last night with the Secretary of Agriculture, and she was kind of explaining to combat that for entities, for businesses that accept food stamps, they're going to require them to follow these guidelines and carry, I believe it was like 50% of their products have to be fresh fruits and vegetables and meats and things of that nature, whether it be a corner store, a 7-Eleven, you name it. I also want to dig into this. There are new recommendations for alcohol consumption that are getting a lot of attention. Can you explain this?
Yeah, the data has been very clear that Americans don't need alcohol to be healthy. It really does not confer a health benefit. I think the confusing language is how much can people have that is part of their healthy diet. The previous data really highlights moderate consumption, which is approximately 1 drink for women and approximately no more than 2 drinks for men. The current guidelines have softened those hard recommendations, but they're still highlighting the fact that alcohol does not directly contribute to health, can be a source of extra calories, and absolutely can increase the risk of certain types of cancers. So we still want people to really think moderately about not only their real food choices, but also these extra things that add to their wellness, like alcohol and being conservative there.
All right, Bethany Dorfler with Northwestern University. Thank you, ma'am. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
And
Welcome back. City leaders are looking to pass a proposal that would crack down on social media companies when it comes to teen gatherings. 6th Ward Alderman William Hall joins me now to discuss this. Alderman, first of all, tell us a little bit about how social media algorithms specifically increase the risk for minors.
Good morning.
Good
First
to
of
see you.
all, what we want to propose is an ordinance to keep young people safe. As we see, 2 lawsuits have been filed, one settled in California, in which a lawsuit was filed to say that the mental health of teenagers have dilapidated because of a startup AI company. And then just recently, we saw a lawsuit filed in Cook County, in which a parent found the inappropriate messages in the messaging feature of Robot, which is supposed to be a safe platform for children online. And so again, we are seeing predatory approaches. And in Chicago, we see that social media companies are willing to monetize, willing to have e-commerce, willing to allow children to see images that they say are not safe. Images and invitations to events that they say goes against their guidelines. We're saying as a city, do your job to protect our children. That's it, that's all.
What would this look like?
Well, one of the things we're doing is we're going to revise. Yesterday, I heard some very interesting and some very constructive perspectives from my colleagues. And so what we're going to do is go back to the law department, and we have a pathway to make this ordinance hopefully lawsuit-proof. And what I mean by that is we expect companies to sue. Why? Because this is a $200 billion industry. And so if we have to go to the court of law to make sure that every child is safe in this city, we'll do so. But what we do know is that social media companies, again, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, make $200 billion using monetization, ad spaces on accounts that have been proven to promote violence and other things that are against their own guidelines.
We have seen the mayor comment on these proposed curfews, you know, crackdowns on social media companies when it comes to organizing these so-called teen takeovers. Where do you stand on this issue, and how do you respond to the mayor's comments that, hey, you know, he's a little bit hesitant to infringe on anyone's civil rights?
Well, first of all, the mayor's approach to safety has worked. And so we must recognize the fact that numbers don't lie, people do. And the approach of investing in mental health, the approach investing in a lot of community organizations, as well as youth jobs, drop crime to the lowest that we've seen in almost 30 years. And so the mayor's approach to making sure that children are safe in this city, it works. Year-round jobs, investments in the arts. Just this week alone, we invested in a lot of art programs that needed emergency funding due to the terrorists in the White House cutting funding. And so, again, the idea of using police as military as a means to protect children does not work. As a former youth pastor, I had kids ruffled, grabbed simply because they were outside, and police assumed that it was gang laundering when they were just leaving a basketball event that we hosted at our church. So again, the approach of just locking kids up is not the way. And I do support using every safety measure as possible. And this is one of many that in this ordinance is to say that if it gets that bad, let's do what we can to protect our children. However, I agree totally with the mayor. We don't want to violate the rights of children. We don't want to be caught up in frivolous lawsuits. We just spent over $200 million for police misconduct. Every police officer is not bad, but what we don't want is to be caught up in court because children were targets of overzealous police officers that wanted to grab, snatch, and throw kids in the back of paddy vans.
Alderman Hall, keep us posted on where this ordinance goes in the coming weeks and months. We appreciate you being here on Good Day Chicago. All right. It's 7:29. We're going to take a quick break. If you're close to the screen, you're going to want to look at this sunrise over the Chicago skyline. Absolutely beautiful start to your Thursday. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. It's now 7:32. Tensions growing in Minneapolis after an ICE agent shot and killed a woman there.
Hundreds of ICE agents have been deployed to Minneapolis as part of the White House's crackdown on illegal immigration. Federal officials say that 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good tried to run the agent over with her SUV yesterday. They are saying that the agent acted in self-defense. However, the city's mayor and other leaders have said that the agent is the one who acted recklessly.
Our officer followed his training, did exactly what he's been taught to do in that situation, and took actions to defend himself.
Shots being fired as the car was driving away. The narrative that this was just done in self-defense is a garbage narrative. To ICE, get the out of Minneapolis.
Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, meantime, has put the state's National Guard on standby in the event of any unrest. Meantime, Illinois Representative Robin Kelly is saying that she is going to be filing articles of impeachment. She wrote in a post on X that she will be working to impeach Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Kelly claims that Noem is violating the Constitution. In that post, she wrote, Noem wreaked havoc in the Chicago area and has brought terror to Minneapolis.
Hundreds gathered in Little Village to honor the woman who was killed by the ICE agents and call for accountability. The community is calling for a full, independent investigation into the killing, immediate accountability for all officials responsible, and transparency from the Department of Homeland Security and ICE regarding the use of force and operational conduct. And federal immigration tactics are under scrutiny in Chicago today.
Roseanne has more on a new initiative led by former Mayor Lori Lightfoot. Roseanne?
Good morning. The former mayor will launch her ICE accountability project today. And this comes as the nation is focused on the deadly ICE shooting up in Minneapolis. But, you know, Chicago has had its own ICE-involved shootings. Let's start with a look at those. A 31-year-old Marimar Martinez, seen here going to court, was shot by a federal agent in Brighton Park in early October. She was accused of ramming her car into an agent's vehicle. She and her passenger were indicted for assault and attempted murder, but those charges were later dropped. A federal agent shot and killed an undocumented immigrant in Franklin Park. That happened in September. 38-year-old Silvario Villegas Gonzalez. The agent claimed he was being dragged by Gonzalez's car as Gonzalez tried to flee. Agents say he'd been targeted for a record of reckless driving. Former Mayor Lori Lightfoot wants to make sure each and every incident is well documented. She talked to our Paris Schutz about that last month.
We want to create a centralized archive of all the purported evidence of criminal actions on the part of ICE and CBP agents across the region. It's out there, but it's in different places, and it makes it difficult to aggregate the information. We want to create a portal where what's happening real time can be centralized and then put out for the public to view.
As she puts it, she also wants to unmask ICE agents. We're going to hear more details. She's going to officially launch that at 10 a.m. downtown. Roseanne Tejas, Fox Chicago.
I'm Brian Jackson with some other headlines we're following this morning, including new details in the search for a missing Chicago Public Schools teacher, Linda Brown. Her husband tells us that police are now searching the area where her car was found on Wednesday. The 53-year-old CPS special education teacher was reported missing this past weekend. The family says that she has a history of mental illness but has never disappeared like this before. LA County, Indiana Sheriff's police officer is in the hospital after a head-on crash during a chase. It happened in Gary around 6 Wednesday night near the corner of 9th and Ralston Street. 2 people in the suspect's car were also hospitalized. Well, Chicago's so-called SNAP curfew ordinance has some new life. City council members took action on the plan even as the mayor continues to say he is opposed. The City Council Public Safety Committee voted in favor of a revised ordinance sponsored by 2nd Ward Alderman Brian Hopkins. It would give the police superintendent the power to declare a curfew at any time and any place to stop a violent teen gathering with approval from the mayor's office. The bill moves to the full City Council. A Chicago area father is suing the popular online game Roblox. He says that the game failed to protect his 9-year-old son from being groomed and eventually sexually exploited. The lawsuit claims that a predator contacted the boy pretending to be another child and then built trust over time. He then convinced the boy to send explicit photos. In a statement, Roblox says it is deeply troubled by any incident that endangers its users. The company says it wants to set the bar for online safety, which is why it claims its policies are more strict than those found on many other platforms, which is why it claims that are found on many other platforms. We're going to have much more on that story in just a little bit of time. It's now 7:37. Let's check in with Mike for a look at the forecast.
Ooh.
Beautiful sunrise out there.
How about that? That is a spectacular sky. Sun coming up, but the sun's going to be fading today. We have really kind of un-January weather on the way here over the next 24 hours or so, but don't give up on this month because there's still plenty of winter left. Let's look at the next 48 hours. Usually, any time of year, the high temperature happens sometime in the afternoon. And it's going to warm up nicely. We'll be in the 50s here this afternoon, even as rain begins to move in, I think, after 2. But the warmest part of the day is going to be right around midnight, which has impacts on both today's high temperature and tomorrow's high temperature, because at midnight, 1 a.m., it's going to be 58 degrees on Friday. Temperatures will start to slide down even as the rain ends overnight. I think tomorrow ends up just being mostly cloudy. On Saturday, we have another storm system on the way. This one's not going to be as warm. We're not talking about rain and thunderstorms. This one will have a little bit of rain and maybe a little bit of light snow as well, with temperatures that by Bears kickoff time be right around freezing. So here's our Weather Authority futurecast. Here comes the rain moving in from the southwest, overspreading all of Chicagoland here, I think between 2 and 3 o'clock. It will rain during the afternoon commute. The wipers are going to be on. And then I think between 6 and roughly 10, there could be some scattered thunderstorms. Personally, I think the highest risk of a stronger thunderstorm will be south of I-80, and that includes those of you in northwest Indiana. So be weather ready. There might be a warning issued here at some point tonight for damaging straight line winds. 11 o'clock, things are beginning to wind down, and by tomorrow morning at this time, everything is over. We're just left with some cloud cover and falling temperatures through the 40s. In fact, I think we'll see a decent amount of sun tomorrow afternoon. But the next storm system, quick on the heels of that one, that will be arriving on Saturday with some snow and some rain mixed in. I'm just not expecting a whole heck of a lot in terms of snowfall. We will be back with more of Good Day, including my interview. Oh, wait, I got pictures to show you. First of all, Kathy Abretsky giving us a cool view here of the moon rising over Porter, Indiana. And in this case, Kathy focused on the silhouetted items in the foreground as opposed to the moon, which she allowed to go into blur. That's a cool shot there, Kathy. And our second photo shows a mute swan enjoying the lake with, looks like maybe some other ducks back there. Canada geese enjoying the lake in Channahon. That is a shot from Nancy Sulagoy. Thank you both for your pictures. All right, as I mentioned, an interview about the Bears with sports expert Mark Carman. He and I will talk about this upcoming playoff game when we come back.
If you're an illegal alien, this
it exciting? We're talking about playoff football as the Bears go head-to-head with our arch rival Green Bay Packers. This is a rivalry rematch at Soldier Field, but this time it's all or nothing. It's a trip to the divisional round, and here to break it down, our buddy Mark Carman, host of the CHGO Bears podcast. All right, Marky Mark, thanks for getting up early with us this morning. We barely beat them a few weeks ago. We almost beat them up at Lambeau Field. How do you break it down? When a team faces another team for the third time, do you give an edge to the home team? How do you break that down?
I break it down like this. It's a coin flip. The Bears and the Packers are tightly matched. The Bears probably feel like they should have swept them. The Packers definitely feel like they should have swept the Bears. I mean, every Packer in that locker room yesterday, sound coming out of Green Bay is, we wanted the Bears. So, look, this is you're going to have their starting quarterback back, Jordan Love, and that's a whole story, too, because the Bears knocked him out. And the Packers are not happy about that hit that Austin Booker delivered. They thought it was a cheap shot. So they're not saying they're going to play dirty, but it's going to be physical out there. And Jordan Love, the Packers, Matt LaFleur, it's been a problem. It's not, I mean, we can go back a lot longer than both of those guys even. So, look, the Bears got to get their running game back going. They have to control the clock. They can't be on the field as much as they were against Detroit. It ain't going to be easy, but it can be done. All
right, we're getting a couple of key pieces back. You're looking at Odunze. Our secondary is going to be a little bit better now. But are these guys able to play at 100%, or are we just trotting them out there because they desperately want to play in a playoff game? How impactful can these guys be?
That's a key question right there. And look, they did say yesterday that, how much they use Rome, they can't. It's not going to be Rome's not going to be playing 100% of the snaps. I don't even know if he's playing 50% of the snaps. And then is he out there as a bona fide threat, or is it more of a decoy? I would think that Rome's, he's been jumping around on the sidelines. He's been waiting to do this. These are football players. Rome's going to, I would think, give you something on Saturday. And how much, who knows? But maybe he has a great game. I wouldn't rule it out. The defense, though, is the bigger concern for me because Jalen Johnson has been back and just hasn't been himself. No. So what does Dennis Allen do? Tyreek Stevenson didn't play a snap last week. That's one of your better cornerbacks. Nashawn Wright's had a stellar season, but I do wonder if Tyreek gets in there, there's some level of rotation, perhaps with Jalen Saturday, because, look, they need better play at that position.
All right. What kind of pressure can we expect to put on Jordan Love? He's done a very good job of kind of picking apart whatever Dennis Allen throws at him. Whether we go zone, whether you blitz him, he's been very, very effective at, just dumping off to the guy coming across the middle. What do you think Dennis Allen should do to kind of put some pressure on Jordan Love?
You're raising the anxiety this Thursday morning, Mike Cavett. I don't know how they're going to get to the quarterback. They haven't gotten to the quarterback all season long because they don't have the pieces. So Montez Sweat's been solid. Maybe he has his best game of the year. That'd be sweet. Austin Booker has flashed a ton lately. They did hit Goff 7 times on Sunday, sacked him 4 times, although there's the couple weird plays from Dan Campbell that contributed to that number. But regardless, getting to the quarterback's been a problem. And one of the guys that's gotten to the quarterback, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, is in concussion protocol. Right. And that was a mid-season pickup. So, and they were hoping to use guys like Kyler Gordon to do that. Kyler Gordon might be back this week. They're hopeful he's going to play. Is he healthy? Could he be a dynamic guy knifing through the defense to put some pressure on Love? There's no clear formula on how they're going to do it. They haven't been able to do it all year.
All right, about 15, 20 seconds left here, Mark. Your formula for success is run the ball, keep Green Bay off the field as much as possible, and just kind of grind this out, punch them in the mouth, and win that way.
Well, yeah, and have the quarterback have an unbelievable day would help too. Listen, Caleb threw for 340 plus. He's the all-time leading passer in Bears history now, passing Eric Kramer. Caleb, the greatest throw that I've ever seen as a Bear outside of Jim McMahon on Thursday night, right there to DJ Moore. The Bears need Caleb to be the guy they drafted him to be, and if he does that, who knows how far they can go.
All right, Mark Carman, we look forward to talking to you next week after the Bears put the Green Bay Packers in the rearview mirror after winning here Saturday night. Enjoy the rest of your day and keep that blood pressure medicine ready to go here Saturday.
Thanks, Mike. Good to see you.
All right, good to see you too. All right, Mark and all of us can watch the Bears and Packers Saturday at 7 p.m. right here on Fox Chicago. Our coverage begins with Bears Game Day live at 12:30. You're going to want to watch Lou and company break this baby down, and then stay with us after the game. And of course, we have the the early game on, too, with the Rams going to Carolina to face the Panthers. And after that Bears victory, think positive, we've got full post-game coverage on your home of the Bears. Natalie, Anthony, back to you.
Thank you so much, Mike. It is now 7:47, and here are some of the top stories that we're following for you this morning. Tensions continue to grow in Minneapolis after an ICE agent shot and killed a woman there.
Federal officials say that 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good tried to run the agent over with her SUV yesterday. They say that the agent acted in self-defense. However, the city's mayor said the agent is the one who acted recklessly in that incident. Meantime, former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot is launching an ICE accountability project. The project's goal here is to track and report illegal actions by federal immigration agents that happened during Operation Midway Blitz. Then it will attempt to unmask those agents. President Donald Trump says he expects the U.S. to maintain direct oversight of Venezuela for years. His comments to the New York Times follow the announcement that his administration plans to effectively assume control of selling Venezuela's oil. The U.S. seized 2 sanctioned oil tankers on Wednesday, one in the North Atlantic, the other in the Caribbean.
President Trump wants to ramp up military spending next year, citing what he calls troubled and dangerous times ahead. He is proposing increasing the budget from $990 billion to $1.5 trillion. In a post to social media, President Trump said the increased spending would allow America to build a dream military that would, quote, keep us safe and secure.
Tensions over Greenland are heating up meantime, but support for any military move is fading on Capitol Hill. President Trump has renewed his push to take over the Danish territory, but lawmakers from both parties are saying that using force would be a non-starter. Danish officials warn that an attack could fracture NATO. The White House will not rule out military action, but Republicans in Congress say that they would not support it, calling any move without approval illegal.
To invade Greenland would be weapons-grade stupid.
All this stuff about military action and all that, I don't think it's I don't even think that's a possibility.
It's one, not a president threat, and so they have duly elected president, so he doesn't have the authority without Congress.
European allies continue to back Denmark here. Secretary of State Marco Rubio set to meet for talks next week with his Danish counterpart.
Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announcing new nutrition guidelines for Americans. They recommend eating more whole foods with protein and less added sugar. The guidelines also take a new stance on highly processed foods, urging people to avoid packaged, ready-to-eat foods like chips, cookies, and candy.
Recent data show that fruits, vegetables, dairy, and proteins, including eggs, pork, and ground beef, are becoming even more affordable every day.
This study in JAMA now shows that 60% to 70% of kids are getting their calories from ultra-processed foods. That's an epidemic.
The guidelines also rolled back on alcohol limits. They used to recommend 2 drinks a day for men, 1 for women. Now it's consuming less alcohol overall. That is the guideline. All right, maybe you'll be having a good old time this Saturday night as we watch the Bears and Packers. And right now we're moving in the right direction temperature-wise, Mike.
Oh, we sure are. In my opinion, we are. I realize some folks want a little more winter out there, but that is a cool shot there as the sun is peeking through some of the cloud cover on the vanguard of the storm system that will not be bringing us snow, but bringing us rain and maybe even thunderstorms here late this afternoon and tonight. These are the current temperatures. This isn't a forecast. This is now. 45 at O'Hare, Midway, 43 at Gary and Michigan City, Woodstock 42, even the cold spots like DeKalb 37 degrees, way above the normal high for this time of year as we are all headed for the 50s, and I mean like way into the 50s here later on. Southerly winds doing a couple of things. They're driving warm air in here, but they're also propelling moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico, which will fuel this storm system and make it possible for some very efficient rainfall rates here late this afternoon and tonight. I've got the rain moving in here, give or take 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It will be raining a little bit more heavily during the afternoon commute, and there can be some thunderstorms mixed in where you're seeing some of that orange and red on this map, maybe some heavier rain and some embedded thunder that will keep going till about 10, 11 o'clock, and then everything kind of quiets down. We'll dry out during the day tomorrow. In fact, I think we'll scour some of these clouds out of here in the afternoon. afternoon, but temperatures will be falling. When I show you the 7-day forecast, the high for tomorrow is whatever that midnight temperature is going to be. Then Saturday, a little bit more wintry here as we see some rain mixing with snow. Temperatures will be falling just in time for that Bears game, and we'll likely see some snow coming down at Soldier Field. 58 tonight, rain by late afternoon, and then we have thunderstorms possible tonight. By tomorrow morning, the temperature will have fallen to 45 degrees. Here's a quick look at the 7-day forecast. A colder day Sunday after that rain-snow combo on Saturday. Temperatures back up around 40 Monday, Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, you're looking at a temperature of 36 degrees with a rain-snow mix. Let's get a traffic update. Anthony.
Okay, Mike, want to mention that I-57 northbound right before the Cal-Sag Bridge. There's an accident there that has the 2 left lanes blocked. So expect a delay there. Here is a look at your other inbound drive times. 53 minutes is your ride on the Kennedy from O'Hare to downtown. On the Eisenhower, you are at 50 minutes inbound from Route 390 to downtown. On the Stevenson, 51 minutes inbound from I-355 to DuSable Lakeshore Drive. And on the inbound, Dan Ryan, you are at 39 minutes inbound from 95th to downtown. I also do want to mention that there is a structure fire that broke out at the corner of 46th and Drexel. So if you're in that area on the near south side, heads up about that. All right, movie theaters had a lot to celebrate in 2025, and that makes one person here at Fox 32 particularly happy. We're talking about Jake Hamilton, who's here to explain.
I might be entirely responsible for that, if I'm being honest with you. Yeah, IMAX announced yesterday that 2025 was their biggest year in history, meaning the biggest movies in Hollywood just kept getting bigger and bigger. Come on, Anthony could do that. The final Mission Impossible was just one of many movies that took advantage of that epic IMAX format. The company announced a record $1.28 billion at the 2025 global box office, the largest in the company's history. Other movies that boosted its numbers include Avatar and F1. And with Marvel, Dune, and The Odyssey on the way, it's likely that 2026 will be even bigger. Next up, season 14 of The Masked Singer kicked off last night with a 2-hour special premiere episode. And if you missed it, you missed a lot. Last night's big celebrity, Big Papi, baseball, Red Sox legend David Ortiz. Some people say that maybe his accent or his cadence while he was singing was a bit of a clue for the judges. Of course, The Masked Singer airs right here on Fox 32. Next up, Chicago was represented big time at yesterday's SAG Award nominations. One battle after another broke a SAG record with 7 different nominations, including her, Chicago's own Chase Infinity, nominated for Best Actress. Chase plays the daughter of Leonardo DiCaprio in the film, and in my opinion, steals the movie. We can find out if she takes home the trophy, maybe brings it back to Chicago when the SAG Awards are handed out on March 1st. Next up, Disney announced its live-action adaptation of Tangled will star Tegan Croft and Milo Manheim in the lead roles of Rapunzel and Flynn Rider. You might remember the 2010 animated film follows the adventures of Rapunzel, a long-haired princess locked away in a tower, and Flynn Rider, a charming outlaw on the run. The original movie featured the voices of Mandy Moore and Zachary Levi, made over $500 million at the box office. No release date has been announced.
Is this your last shift?
For a while, yeah.
Maybe he's trying to outrun some old ghosts.
It's going to be a lot of time to self-reflect. Sure you could handle that?
I love this show so much. The highly anticipated new season of The Pit drops today, and we're going to talk with the big man on staff. Emmy Award winner Noah Wiley sits down to talk with me all about the most popular medical series on television. Our conversation coming up later in the morning right here on Good Day Chicago, and he tells me some great stories. Obviously, he's got a history playing doctors. He started right here in Chicago on ER, and so over the last 30 years, a lot of doctors come up to him and say, you know, this is what you got wrong, this is what you got right, and he talks with me a little bit about that.
That's cool.
Can't wait to see it. Thanks so much,
guys.
Jake. Plenty more Good Day Chicago ahead. And here's a look at what's coming up at 8 and 9. Keep it right here. Warner Brothers Discovery is once again telling shareholders to reject the sweetened offer from Paramount. It says the Paramount deal does not include enough compensation to pay for breakup fees if it abandons its merger with Netflix. The Warner Brothers Discovery vast library includes many classics, including Harry Potter and Batman.
More investors are joining the lawsuit against Maple and Ash, the owners of the Chicago Steakhouse. They are accused of misusing millions of dollars in COVID relief funds. The lawsuit claims the restaurant's owners used relief funds on country club dues and a private jet instead of its workers. The plaintiffs are seeking more than $20 million in damages, with the trial set to begin next January.
Millions of student loan borrowers could soon be forced to pay up. The Trump administration is restarting wage garnishment for those in default. The federal government can take up to 15% of your